All right, today we're going to talk about a teacher-student conference in a role environment or a results-only learning environment. Right now we don't have any grades in class, but what we do, we have to kind of assess our learning when it comes to our performance and our progress and our participation. One of the things that Morgan and I are going to take a look at is how she is progressing into second quarter. Many of the things that you'll see here in front include her student portion of self-assessment. You'll also see my feedback notes during her class participation, as well as the negotiation and discussion of her progress together collectively as teacher and student. One of the things that you'll notice as we make this video today is that Morgan's going to talk quite a bit about her evidence that she has done in class to support her grade that she feels she has achieved so far throughout this second term. Morgan, I'm going to have you go now to your 3 Ps, which is in the back of your self-assessment. And let's start with your participation, progress, and performance while I jot down a few notes as we start off our conference today.
Okay, so for participation, I'd say I try my best in this class, and I always try to engage in conversations, but like the key factor for participation to show how much I participate, I think, is the Socratic seminar, because Kelly has the paper because she graded me on it, but you can see on it when we turn it in that it has that I make eye contact, I talk frequently, I ask questions, and I engage positively in the conversations. I don't interrupt, and I don't get into side conversations. Let's see what else I have. I can also I make connections, and by using the dialect, I understand what we were reading in the book. Today during our Socratic seminar, Demonte said how you could tell by Haley's dialect what type of person she was, and I understood that. I could follow up with him because I understood how it works in books. And so I would say, yeah, I do come to class prepared with my evidence I do right now, and I get my work done, and I'd say I do my best effort all the time. Any chance that I get, I will put in my best effort for this class.
Now let me ask you a question based on that. Last year there was a lot of thought about tickets, if you did this assignment, here's a ticket. If you answered this question, you did a ticket. I don't offer any tickets in class, so what keeps you going in terms of being motivated to do your best in class?
Honestly, the projects, most of them are pretty interesting. The blogging, it's pretty fun since I choose the topic that I want to write about.
Okay.
And, well, I'd say I know how it affects my life and my grades if I don't give my best effort and I do poorly. So mostly I look to the future on it.
Okay.
If I'm doing something.
So you kind of have this big picture view of why this is important to your learning process. Okay. Let's go on and talk about progress. When I think about progress, I think about from the very beginning of the year that you came in here to now. What do you feel that you've progressed in?
Progressing, I think I've progressed mostly in the group talking.
Okay. Say more about that.
So the book clubs and the Socratic seminar. Last year we did a little bit of it in social studies with the fishbowl, but this year we went all out for it, and now I completely understand what we're doing. I know how to come to discussions prepared with designing questions, which I didn't really think about last year how much, and I come with evidence, support from the text. I make a lot of connections and try to predict. So mostly it's that, and then I'm gonna say the communication skills are huge in this class for me.
Sure.
Yeah.
So you've learned these skills, but maybe what I'm hearing from you is that this class is requiring you to actually apply those skills.
Yes.
And that application is really clicking with you. Is that fair to say?
Yeah.
Okay. Tell me a little bit about performance.
So performance. Oh, let's see here. So I have all of this right here, and organization I have right here. So like I didn't use like your organization technique because I felt like it was too small and I didn't have enough to write and I didn't have enough to put all my thoughts down. So I used
That's
this, and I have my key up here, and I highlighted. And then me and Lena and my group, we did the same thing for our interview questions. We highlighted and we stayed organized.
Okay.
And we made, like you helped us, but then we went off of it. We made better questions that suited the book
Sure.
and our interview. So, and then I think it's still.
Let me ask you something about your performance in terms of how proud of you, what are you proud of right now that you're either working on or just worked on throughout this term?
My blogs, definitely. I
Okay.
love to write those blogs, and then I love to read the comments off of them. Like, I felt like so proud, like I felt like I did a good job, and like I wanted to do it more.
Okay, good, and we will.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's go ahead and turn to the very front where we talk about reading literature standards, and those are our fiction standards.
Mm-hmm.
Out of the standards that you see, and I can see that you have a lot of evidence that you've provided in specifically addressing each standard. Can you tell me about some of your strengths as a literature or a fiction reader? What do you suppose are your strengths right now? What do you feel very strong at doing?
My strengths in fiction. Understanding like maybe metaphorical terms in fiction books. I
Okay.
guess.
So maybe we can kind of put that into connections. Have you been able to
Yeah.
kind of make some connections with the text that we're currently reading, or we just finished actually?
Yeah, I could make connections with the fan club
Okay.
and with that 70 Years Later
Okay.
article that we read. Even though it was nonfiction, it was like it had a lot of good connections with the Impossible Knife of Memory.
Sure.
And then so, all this stuff like summary, and here I have that right here. I've done this all before. It's just like all of this is more like enhancing the skills that I already know.
Okay.
It's like you said, like putting it into play even more than we already have.
Sure. So what would you say out of these standards that you need to work on?
What I need to work on this
Mhm.
is probably, I don't really know much about dramas. Like you said here, they're like,
We haven't gotten there yet, but
Yeah.
I understand. So I'll make note of that on here when we get there. Is there anything else, like in terms of citing evidence from the text, or when we compare and contrast multiple texts to each other? Are there things that you feel that you might need to work on still as we think about growth mindset?
maybe just going over it just like every now and then so I'm not like forgetting it.
Okay.
It's like that muscle memory almost.
Sure.
Other than that, I don't have like any like big problems that I need to worry about, I don't think.
Okay. Let's take a look at nonfiction standards, because nonfiction is the next set of standards, or we might call them reading informational texts. What are some things on here? I'm going to ask you the same question. What are some things on here that you find are your strengths right now as a nonfiction reader?
I usually I can analyze the information in the text and like put it all together and use it for maybe writing or just connecting to other texts, and just using that information to just stick in my head for like future references that we may need.
So understanding the importance of certain paragraphs.
Yeah.
You might have done that, like say in your podcast group when you were working with an article.
And then like 70 years later, we had to understand like what phrases and keywords were the most important. So like it was forgiveness. That was like one of the big ones, and like maybe like the holding of grudges that really connected to the Impossible Knife of Memory. So that's like I think those are like mostly my strengths. Is just like understanding like the importance of nonfiction.
Okay. So let me ask you, what do we want to work on in terms of nonfiction reading? During the second half of this quarter, we're going to really merge our way into a lot of nonfiction reading. What do we need to work on still?
Okay, so I get the big details and I get the importance. It's just like sometimes you need to understand those little details that can play like a pretty big part in.
Sure.
I have trouble like engaging in nonfiction books.
Okay.
Because I don't really find them interesting compared to fiction books.
Sure.
So I don't read them that often.
Okay.
So maybe like reading them more and getting more into that topic of books would help me out.
Okay. So how would you advocate for yourself if you came upon something that we were reading throughout this month and next to advocate for yourself as a learner? Would you need a graphic organizer? Would you need to talk about it? Would you need to jot some notes down? Would you need some note strategies? Where do you feel would be the best for you?
Probably like group discussions to
Okay.
help answer my questions, and probably notes too.
Okay, well noted. Let's go to writing. I want to share with you one of the things that I wrote back on October 23rd, and I addressed your blogging because I felt that you had a very strong blog, and I want to say that was our sample blog that we did right after we read the fan club short story. But I wrote, awesome blogging, definitely employed many of the mini lesson strategies given in class. So it's very refreshing to know that when I give direct instruction that you're instantly applying that and improving it, I would say. And you're really, like I wrote in my notes, you're really employing a lot of those strategies because I think they're sticking with you. I can tell that it's something that you're very prideful about, and that makes me excited. Tell me some other strengths that you feel that you have as a writer right now.
As a writer?
Based on these standards, where do you feel strong and comfortable with right now?
Like organization, like the paragraphs, I've always known how to do that. That's like getting easier.
Mm-hmm.
The concrete details, like last year we got those packets that gave us those really good verbs and adjectives. Since I've gotten that, I could imply it more in my blogs.
Okay.
And I could use it more, and I could improve on it more by working with it. And the transitions, like, I guess I've always known those, but like that again, I've like been enhancing it again. And vocabulary, it's just been like doing it over and over again, and that really gets it into
Sure.
like, my muscle memory.
And let me ask you about introductions and conclusions. Is that something that maybe we kind of still need more practice on as we move forward in our writing?
Maybe a little.
Okay.
Not that much, because like I feel like we all basically know how to do this, just like those little details.
Sure. Is there anything else that you find that you might want to improve on when it comes to your writing, or some goals that you might have for yourself?
Like, I try to take like risks and do like.
Tell me about those risks.
Like, with my Zombies and Freaks blog, it described Haley's definition of what she believes zombies and freaks were, and that was a little risk for me to take. I want to get like bigger. I want to get out there and make it really different and interesting to read, so like it could catch more readers' eyes. So that's what I think I should work on concerning that.
Okay. Now, I also want to make sure that you understand, like, I'm really proud that you identified that as a risk. But I want you to understand, without having grades in this class, I want you to open up this freedom, this thinking freedom, to go and try and risk and possibly fail, because it's okay. There's no punitive damages to trying to take risks to do something. Whether you're going to read a harder book or write about a controversial topic, or maybe not write in paragraphs, but you want to write in poetic stanzas as a way to turn something in.
Okay.
I'm always going to be here to give you feedback and get you back on track if something doesn't go awry. But I think for a really long time, we tend to do things that make others happy, make the teacher happy, or make the grader happy. But we don't tend to think for ourselves. So I want you to take some time throughout this year to really empower yourself to be that critical thinker that I know that you are, because you don't have the punishment in here with the grades. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I would have a lot of respect for you if you would have tried and you would have failed. We could still talk about that A that I think that you probably still value,
Okay.
rather than trying to keep learning on the safe side all the time. I think you're going to see more of that risk opportunity in second semester. But I really want to encourage you to be that forward thinker that I know that you are.
Okay.
So let's talk about grade language. You've identified a lot of strengths in reading throughout this first term. So what would you put your reading at now in terms of letter language?
I guess an A.
Okay. I would have to agree. However, you identify